I was on my way to visit my husband at the hospital when a nurse stopped me in the hallway and whispered, "Mrs. Amanda, your daughter-in-law was here last night." I walked into room 307 and saw the IV bag had been changed. The color was different. Someone wanted him never to wake up. There are moments in life where everything changes in a second, where what you thought was solid ground crumbles beneath your feet. Mine arrived in the hallway of St. Mary's Hospital at 9 at night when a nurse stopped me before I could enter room 307. "Mrs. Amanda," she whispered, looking side to side like someone afraid of being caught. "Your daughter-in-law was here last night." I froze. My heart did a flip that I can still feel as I tell you this. "Delilah? What time?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. The nurse pressed her lips together. She had deep dark circles under her eyes, and her hair was in a messy ponytail. You could tell she had worked too many hours in a row, around 3 in the morning. She entered with a key that I do not know where she got. She was not on the visitor log. The air escaped my lungs. 40 years of marriage had taught me to read between the lines. 40 years of building a textile empire from scratch alongside Henry had given me the instinct to detect when something did not add up. And this did not add up at all. "Why are you telling me this?" I managed to murmur. She looked at the floor nervously. Her fingers trembled slightly when she clasped them in front of her, because she changed the IV bag and I did not receive any medical order to do so. The world stopped. I pushed the door to room 307 with shaking hands. The smell of disinfectant hit me first, that scent that gets into your clothes and never leaves. The hallway light barely illuminated the silhouette of my husband in that hospital bed that seemed to swallow him whole. Henry had been unconscious for 5 days. 5 days since a stroke took him down in the middle of the office, right in front of his employees, right in front of the documents he had been obsessively reviewing for the last few weeks. 5 days where I had slept in that uncomfortable chair next to him, begging God that he would open his eyes. 5 days clinging to the hope that the man who had been my partner, my associate, my everything, would come back to me. I walked slowly to the bed. The sound of the heart monitor marked a constant, soothing rhythm, but my eyes went straight to the IV bag hanging from the metal pole. And then I saw it. The liquid had a different tone, very subtle but different. It was not the crystal clear liquid from always. There was something slightly yellowish in it, as if someone had dissolved something in there. My knees went weak. I held onto the bed rail, feeling the cold metal run up my arms. I looked at Henry's face, so still, so pale. His gray eyebrows, which I had always found distinguished, now looked whiter against his ashen skin. "What is happening?" I whispered in the darkness of the room. But deep down, a part of me already knew. A part of me that had ignored signs for months, maybe years, finally woke up screaming. Delilah, my daughter-in-law, the wife of my son Matthew, the woman who entered our family 8 years ago with a perfect smile and words of honey, but whose eyes never quite smiled when she looked at me. What was she doing in this room at 3 in the morning? Why did she change the IV bag? I stumbled out of the room. The nurse was still there, waiting. Now I understood why. She had seen something too. She also knew that something was terribly wrong. "Are you new to the night shift?" I asked her, my voice barely a thread. "I have been here 3 weeks. That is why I know this is not normal." I leaned against the hallway wall. A doctor ran past toward another room. A gurney rolled near us. The life of the hospital continued its course while mine was falling apart. "Do you have cameras?" It was the only thing I could think to ask. She shook her head but then hesitated. "In the hallways, yes. Not in the rooms." Something, I thought. "Thank you." I looked at her badge. "Thank you, Lucy. You do not know what it means that you told me this." She nodded, but I saw fear in her eyes. Fear of the consequences of having dared to speak. At that moment, I did not know it, but that fear was more than justified. I went back into the room. This time I turned on the light. I needed to see everything, examine everything. The IV bag, the tube connecting to Henry's arm, the intravenous line perfectly placed. Everything looked normal at first glance. But I knew it was not. I sat in that chair that knew by heart every complaint of its broken springs. I took Henry's cold hand between mine and squeezed it. "What did you see, my love?" I whispered to him. "What did you discover that put you like this?" Because now I understood. Henry did not have a stroke by chance. Not at 68 years old, being in perfect shape, taking care of himself like he did. Something had brought him to that point. Something or someone. And now, someone did not want him to wake up. My phone vibrated in my purse. It was a message from Matthew. "Mom, are you still at the hospital? You should rest already. I can stay tonight." I looked at that message for a long time. My son, my firstborn, the boy I had carried in my arms, the young man I had sent to college, the man I had put in charge of part of the family business. How much did he know? How much was he involved? I did not reply to the message. Instead, I dialed a number I had saved for years and never thought I would use. "Dr. Sullivan, this is Amanda Reynolds, wife of Henry Reynolds, the patient in 307. I need you to do me a favor first thing tomorrow morning. I need you to analyze the contents of the IV bag connected to my husband, and I need no one, absolutely no one, to know we are doing this." There was silence on the other end of the line. "Mrs. Amanda, is there something I should know?" "Soon there will be, doctor. For now, I just need you to trust me." I hung up before he could ask more questions. That night, I did not sleep. I stayed sitting in that chair, holding Henry's hand, guarding that IV bag as if my life depended on it. Because maybe it was not my life hanging by a thread. It was his. And someone in my own family wanted to cut it. If this story is gripping you as much as it hurt me to live it, subscribe to the channel Elderly Stories. Because what comes next is just the beginning of a nightmare I never imagined living within my own blood. But I still did not know the worst. I still did not know how long this had been happening right in front of my eyes, and how much I had ignored for the love of my son. Doctor Sullivan arrived at 6 in the morning before the shift change. He brought a black briefcase and an expression that told me he had understood the urgency without needing explanations. He extracted a sample from the IV while I stood guard at the door. My hands were sweating. Every step in the hallway made me jump. "You will have results in 2 hours, Mrs. Amanda. I will call directly to your cell phone." I nodded without words. What could I say? Thank you for helping me discover if my family is poisoning my husband. I stayed there, standing by the window, watching the sunrise over Chicago. The city woke up unaware of my torment. Vendors were setting up their stands. The smell of fresh bread rose from the bakery on the corner. Everything was normal out there. But in my world, nothing would ever be normal again. I closed my eyes and allowed myself to remember, because I needed to understand how I had gotten here, how a family we built with so much love had turned into this. Henry and I met in 1985. I was barely 23 and worked as a seamstress in a textile factory downtown. He was the owner's son, but not one of those who spend their time at parties spending the inheritance. No. Henry arrived at 5 in the morning, before everyone. He checked every machine. He knew every employee by name. We fell in love between rolls of fabric and the noise of industrial machines. His father opposed it at first. I was not from his class, he said. But Henry defended me. He chose me. And together we proved that love can indeed move mountains. When his father died in 1990, we inherited a bankrupt factory and debts of $50,000. Everyone gave up on us, but we worked day and night. I designed, he sold, I managed, he negotiated. In 10 years, we lifted the business. In 20, we had 3 commercial locations in different cities. Today that empire is worth millions of dollars. Millions that we built with calluses on our hands and sleepless nights. We had 3 children. Matthew arrived first in 1983, before we got married. then Eleanor, and finally Ryan. All three grew up seeing our effort. All three promised to continue the legacy, but life has strange ways of twisting plans. Eleanor fell in love with a European man and left for London 12 years ago. Ryan got a job at a Canadian oil company and lives in Calgary. They call every week. They send photos of the grandkids, but they are far away. So far that sometimes I feel like I lost them. Only Matthew stayed, my firstborn, my oldest son, the one who swore never to abandon us. We put him in charge of administrative management 5 years ago. We trusted him. We gave him access to the accounts, to the suppliers, to everything. Because he was our son. Because we thought no one would take better care of the family business than our own blood. And then Delilah arrived. He met her at a textile business congress. She worked as an event assistant. She was 28 years old, 15 years younger than Matthew. She was beautiful. I could not deny that. Long black hair down to her waist, green eyes that seemed to see right through you, a smile that could light up or freeze depending on her mood. At first, I tried to welcome her. I organized a family dinner. I gave her a rosary blessed by our priest. I even offered to teach her the traditional family recipes. But she always found subtle ways to reject me. She arrived late to meetings. She forgot to tell us about important events. When I spoke, she looked at her phone. And Matthew? Matthew changed. He stopped visiting us on Sundays. He no longer asked for advice about the business. When we went to his house, Delilah always had an excuse to leave. Family dinners became tense, full of uncomfortable silences. Henry noticed. He tried to talk to Matthew several times, but our son got defensive. "I'm not a child anymore, Dad. I have my own family now." As if having a wife meant forgetting where you came from. Things got worse 2 years ago. Henry arrived one night pale, with a manila envelope in his hands. He locked himself in his study for hours. When he came out, his eyes were red. "What happened?" I asked him, scared. "We will talk later, Amanda. Right now I need to think." The next day, he went to the notary. Alone. He changed the will without telling me what he modified. When I complained, he hugged me tight. "Trust me, I am protecting what we built together. I should have insisted more. I should have forced him to explain. But I thought we would have time. I thought when he was ready, he would tell me." I never imagined time would run out on us so soon. My phone vibrated. It was Dr. Sullivan. My heart raced. My fingers trembled as I swiped the screen. "Mrs. Amanda, I need to see you. Now, in my office." He did not say more. It was not necessary. I left the room almost running. I went down the stairs because I could not wait for the elevator. I arrived at his office breathless. He closed the door. His face was a mask of professional concern, but I saw something else in his eyes. Alarm. Maybe even fear. The IV contains benzodiazepines, a considerable dose. I held onto the desk. My legs would not respond. What does that mean? It means someone is deliberately sedating your husband, keeping his nervous system depressed, preventing him from waking up. The room spun. How long has this been happening? He checked some papers. He did some calculations, based on the levels in his blood. Days. Maybe from the beginning. From the beginning. Someone had been poisoning Henry since day one. And I, his wife of 40 years, had been sitting next to him without realizing it. "There is something else," the doctor continued. "I reviewed his history. Your husband's stroke was caused by extreme stress. Something upset him deeply days before. What did you see, Henry? What did you discover that put you like this? And more importantly, who does not want you to tell it?" I left that office with a truth that burned me inside. My family was hiding secrets, secrets dark enough to kill, and I was about to open a box that perhaps I should have left closed. But there was no turning back, because when you discover that your own blood is capable of betraying you, you have to decide how far you are willing to go for the truth. I went back to room 307 with legs of jelly, but with a steel determination I did not know I had. That is the problem when you are pushed to the limit. You discover what you are really made of. And I was made of 40 years of fighting alongside a man who now could not defend himself alone. I sat in that worn chair and took out my cell phone. My hand still trembled, but no longer from fear. It was rage. A cold rage rising from my stomach and clouding my vision. I started searching Delilah Montes Reynolds, my daughter-in-law, the woman who had entered my family in that white lace dress and that smile promising respect and unity. I opened her Facebook. Usually I am not one of those mother-in-laws who spies on social media, but this was no longer normal. None of this was. I scrolled down her profile. Photos in expensive restaurants, photos at the gym, selfies with friends I had never met. And then something stopped me cold. A photo from 6 months ago. Delilah in front of the counter of a large pharmacy, one of those that sell everything. She was holding a bag and smiling at the camera. The caption said, "Preparing my natural remedies for the family. Natural health, family wellness, natural remedies." I zoomed in on the image. Behind her on the counter, I could just see a box. I could not read the full name, but I distinguished the letters CPAM. My heart did a flip. I kept scrolling. More photos. A post from a year ago where she shared an article about medicinal plants that help you sleep better. Another where she talked about the importance of alternative medicine. Since when was Delilah interested in this? I closed Facebook and Googled her name. I needed to know more, and what I found froze my blood. Delilah had studied nursing 3 years at the State University from 2012 to 2015, but she never finished the last year. She never got her degree. She never practiced. Why had no one told me this? I called Eleanor. My daughter answered on the second ring, her voice sleepy from the time difference. "Mom, are you okay? It is 4 a.m. here. Eleanor, did you know Delilah studied nursing?" Silence. Long. Too long. "Mom, why are you asking that now? Answer me." She sighed. I heard movement, probably getting out of bed so as not to wake her husband. Yes, I knew. Matthew told me when they started dating. He said she had dropped out because it was not her thing. Why does it matter? I closed my eyes. A headache was starting to hammer my temples. And it never seemed strange to you that she never mentioned it? "Mom?" Eleanor's voice became cautious. "What is really happening? Matthew called me yesterday saying you were acting paranoid at the hospital. Of course he had. Of course he was already controlling the narrative. Your father did not have a normal stroke, Eleanor. Someone is giving him something to keep him asleep. Mom, please listen to yourself. Do you think Matthew?" I do not know what to believe. I only know what I know. I hung up before hearing more. I could not handle the disbelief of my own children right now, not when every minute counted. I called the hospital and asked to speak with the director of nursing. An older woman with a firm voice attended me. "Mrs. Reynolds, how can I help you? I need to see the visitor log for room 307. All visits from the last 5 days. That is confidential. My husband is in that room. I have the right." A sigh. Computer typing. "Let me see. Your son Matthew has come every day between 2 and 4 in the afternoon. Your daughter-in-law, Delilah?" My stomach tightened. Yes, her. How many times? According to the official log, twice. On the 2nd day and the 4th day. And unofficially, uncomfortable silence on the other end. "I do not understand the question, ma'am." "Yes, you do. The hallway cameras. I want to see them. Does that require a court order or probable cause? A nurse saw her enter last night without registering. That is cause enough." More silence. Then, in a lower voice, "You would have to make a formal request, and it will take time." I did not have time. Henry did not have time. I hung up and stared at my husband. His chest rose and fell with mechanical regularity. The monitor beeped constantly. He seemed stable. But I knew the truth. Every hour that passed with that drug in his system was an hour further from waking up. My phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello? Mrs. Amanda, this is Lucy, the nurse from last night." Her voice sounded tense, scared. "Are you okay? They called me to the office this morning. They said I made mistakes on my shift, that I reported things without evidence. They suspended me." My stomach sank. Suspended? Why? Someone complained about me. Someone with influence. And I think I know who it was. Delilah. It had to be Delilah. Somehow she found out Lucy had warned me. "I'm so sorry, Lucy. This is my fault." "No," she interrupted me. "This is the fault of whoever is doing something bad. Listen, before they walked me out, I saved something. The recordings from the hallway cameras for the last 5 days. I have them on a USB drive." I stood up abruptly from the chair. "Where are you?" "Hospital cafeteria, back table. I have a red cap on." I arrived in less than 3 minutes. Lucy was there, sunk into the chair, with dark circles deeper than the night before. When she saw me, she took a small USB from her purse and slid it across the table. I do not know if it will help, but everything is there. Every entry, every exit, every night visit that should not have happened. I took the USB like it was gold. Maybe it was. Maybe it was the only proof I had. "Why are you doing this?" I asked her. "You already lost your job. You could just leave." Her eyes filled with tears. "Because my mom died 2 years ago in a hospital. The doctors said it was sudden cardiac arrest. But I know it was not like that. My sister-in-law was the only one who visited her at night. And when Mom died, we discovered she had changed her will a week before. Everything was left to my brother." She wiped her tears with the back of her hand. No one believed me. Everyone said I was crazy with grief. But I know what I saw. And when I saw your daughter-in-law enter last night with that key, with that attitude, I recognized the same look, the same urgency. I took her hand on the table. It was cold. "Thank you, Lucy. You do not know what this means. Just promise me one thing, Mrs. Amanda. If you find out I am right, do not let them get away with it, because sometimes justice needs someone to fight for it." I left that cafeteria with the USB clenched in my fist. I did not know what I would find in those recordings, but something told me that after seeing them, there would be no turning back, because some truths, once discovered, change everything forever. I arrived home for the first time in 5 days. The house Henry and I bought 30 years ago, the one we remodeled together, where we raised our children, where we celebrated Christmases and birthdays. Now it felt empty, cold, as if it knew something terrible was about to be revealed within its walls. I turned on the computer with trembling hands. I inserted the USB, and when those videos started playing, I understood that my life as I knew it had ended. Because there are things you cannot unsee once you have seen them, and what appeared on that screen was going to destroy my family, or save it. The first video started playing. Date October 16th, 2:47 a.m., the third-floor hallway of the hospital barely lit by emergency lights. For 30 seconds, nothing happened. Just the empty hallway, the shine of the freshly mopped floor, the medication cart parked by the wall. Then she appeared. Delilah walked fast, sticking to the wall, looking both ways. She was wearing dark jeans and a hoodie. None of the perfect makeup she always wore, none of the elegance she showed off on social media. She looked like what she was, someone who did not want to be seen. She arrived at the door of room 307. She took something out of her pocket, a key. She put it in the lock with precise movements, as if she had done it before, as if she knew exactly how to open it without making noise. She entered. The door closed behind her. 4 minutes later, she came out. She walked even faster toward the elevator and disappeared. I felt nauseous. I had to pause the video and breathe deeply. My hands were sweating on the mouse. What had she done in those 4 minutes? I opened the second file. Date, October 17th, 3:15 a.m., the same scene. Delilah entering. This time she took 6 minutes inside. When she came out, she adjusted her hoodie and looked directly at the camera for a second. Her eyes shone strangely under the fluorescent light, cold, calculating. It was not the look of someone visiting a sick relative. It was the look of someone executing a plan. The third video almost killed me. Date, October 18th, 2:33 a.m. This time, she did not come alone. Matthew appeared first in the hallway. My son, my firstborn, the boy I had carried, fed, educated. He was wearing a dark jacket, baseball cap, hands stuffed in his pockets. He stopped in front of room 307 and took out his cell phone. He typed something. 30 seconds later, Delilah appeared from the other end of the hallway. They met in front of the door. They spoke. I could not hear what they were saying, but I saw the tension in their gestures. Matthew pointed toward the door. Delilah shook her head. He insisted. She finally nodded. They entered together. This time, they were inside for 8 minutes. When they came out, Matthew looked both ways down the hallway, nervous, while Delilah put something in her purse. Something small. A vial, perhaps. A syringe. They left in opposite directions, as if they did not know each other, as if they were not husband and wife, as if they had not just come out of the same room where my husband lay helpless. I stopped the video. I got up from the chair. I walked to the bathroom and threw up everything I had in my stomach, which was not much. I had barely eaten a bite in days. I looked in the mirror. A 67-year-old woman stared back at me, gray hair in a messy bun, deep dark circles, pale skin, wrinkled clothes I had been wearing since yesterday. I looked 10 years older than a week ago, but in my eyes there was something new, something hard, something dangerous. I went back to the computer. I needed to see it all, every second, every entry, every exit. There were more videos. In the one from October 19th, Delilah spent 20 minutes inside the room. In the one from the 20th, she entered again at 4 a.m., when the hospital is most asleep, when fewer nurses roam the halls. Every night since Henry's stroke. And on 3 of those nights, Matthew stood guard outside. Tears started falling without me being able to control them. They were not tears of sadness. They were pure rage, of betrayal, of a pain so deep it had no name. My son. My own son. The doorbell rang. I wiped my face violently and went to open it, ready to face whatever it was. It was Matthew. He was there, standing on the threshold with that smile I had known since he was born. The same smile he used as a child when he did something mischievous. Only now I knew that behind that smile lived a monster. "Mom, are you okay? You have not answered my messages." I wanted to scream at him. I wanted to push him. I wanted to ask him how he could be doing this. But I held back, because something in me knew that if I showed my cards now, I would lose the game. "I am tired, Matthew. I just came to shower and change." He tried to enter. I took a step, blocking the entrance.